I have never done a video about anime. I'm going to talk about this. This is Bleach, A Thousand Year Blood War. This is there's the original animated series, which was which basically dealt with, this is Ichigo Kurosaki, this is Orihime Inaho, this is Kisuke Urahara, this is Byakuya Kuchiki, this is Renji Albarai, and this is Rukia Kuchiki. The story centers around Ichigo and his friends. And basically, he becomes what's known as a substitute Soul Reaper because Rukia was sent to the human world. And she ends up meeting Ichigo, and he can see her because he can see spirits because of who he is. And she's patrolling, and then Ichigo is out there, and then she gets injured, and she takes her sword and stabs Ichigo, turning him into what would become a substitute Soul Reaper. And he doesn't know for long, what people think is his Soul Reaper powers are actually not his Soul Reaper powers. He doesn't know who he really is, who his parents are. Except for Kisuke Urahara, he knows, and he runs a shop. Okay. And essentially, as this original show is going on, the manga and anime, eventually, we get to, the first season deals with, basically, because of what Rukia did, she's supposed to die, so basically Ichigo and his friends, Ichigo has to basically waken up his, because he tries to go rescue Rukia, her brother basically beats him and severs his abilities, stops him, and so Kisuke offers to help him reawaken up his abilities, and essentially he cuts his soul from his body, so he has to basically be able to fix himself. And what comes out of this is he gets a mask, and what that is happens to be a being known as White, and the mask is a hollow mask, which I'm giving you the basics of this, and as the show goes on, we have Ichigo, finally they expose Aizen as the Traitor Soul Society. Tozen goes with him, and so does Gin Ichimaru. They go into Waco Mundo, and then we have a few more, we have the Mod Soul, and then we have all these others, and we get back to, we even get the Zanpakuto arc where, but then we get back to the fake Korokoro where we get to what are called the Aran cards, which they look human, but they are hollows that were able to break their masks and look like humans. They have somewhat like Soul Reaper power, except for instead of using Zanpakutos and doing Shikai and everything, they basically reawaken their real form when they basically kind of do what Bankai is, but I'm giving the basic. I'm bad at remembering certain words and everything, and so in the end, Aizen loses, and he creates a Hokyaku, and he basically puts it inside of himself, and by doing that, we find that he admits to Ichigo that he's the reason he exists. That's true. He played the biggest part in Ichigo's existence, and that comes back later. I'm going through this roughly to give you a sense. This show's really good. The characters are well done. I used to watch it in English, but I prefer the Japanese because it's based in Japan. It's kind of weird hearing American actors come out of Japanese characters. But the voice of English dub they're good. They do their job, even though they change words. So we get through to after the whole Aizen thing, and then we get to this. And by the way, when Kuba did this, he actually was, when he did the 1,000-Year Blood War arc, the manga, he was actually having issues with his publisher. He thought he was going to get fired, and so he rushed this. Plus, he said he was working with a dislocated shoulder. His health was crap, And so he rushed this, and the manga, it's not as good as the, now, here's the thing, the anime, he's working with two guys, a director and, two directors, and he's actually supervising this whole thing, and they make a lot of great changes to the whole thing. So we get through the beginning of it is the Thousand Year Boer War. It turns out after everything that's happened, in Waco Mundo they have a queen now, because Eisen was sort of took over, and the actual king of Waco Mundo ends up dying. So they elect Harabelle is the new queen, and basically there's an invasion before they invade the Soul Society for the real war, and we meet Yuvok. He is the Soul King's son. He's actually he's the king of all Quincy's. And essentially 1,000 years ago, he invaded the Soul Society, and he tried to do what he's planning to do now, but he failed in the original Goto 13. We're all bloodthirsty killers. And all that's left now, when we get to this story, is we have Yamamoto, he's the captain commander, and he is missing one arm because he lost it to Eisen when he was fighting Eisen. But he also doesn't have Orihime repair his arm, which she could. We know that she did fix soy phones, because she actually had to have her arm cut off because of Baragon. He ended up causing her to lose her arm, but it is back thanks to Orihime. We don't see that, but we know because she has both her hands and everything. So what happens is that at the beginning Ichigo is dealing with some hollows that are on, and they run into Soul Reapers, and and I'm trying to remember everything about it. I have to watch it again. But essentially, he ends up having to go, there's an issue going on. They know about Ichigo, and, these two amateur Soul Reapers get saved by Ichigo and his friends, and then all of a sudden, Nell shows up and asks Ichigo for help because something's happened to Waco Mundo, and then, of course, Udio doesn't go with him because he doesn't care about helping Hollows. Quincy's and Hollows don't get along, so Kisuke hears this and decides to take them to Waco Mundo. And they end up in Waco Mundo, and while they're there, and we meet Obe. He's the guy running, who's in charge. He is probably of the Quincy. He's actually, he's the first real big Quincy. We meet another one. He's actually a Hollow that's working with the Quincy's because he offered to help him. Ichigo beats him. He uses his Bankai. The guy wonders why he can't steal it. Well, that comes up because, I'll explain in a minute. He gets defeated, goes back, and basically he ends up getting killed by Yuvok, who basically says he hates conflict, but that's not quite true. We know he loves conflict. Because he's a warlord. So he lies about that, and he kills the other guy who thinks he can talk up to him. Oh, and this is after sending a message to Yamamoto that war is coming. They go and send a message to Yamamoto, and what happens? Sasaki while Ichigo's in Waco Mundo, Yuvok sends a group to confront Yamamoto. Oh, by the way, before all that, there's a bunch of people in Soul Society killed off because there's an imbalance, and so what happened is Mayuri killed a bunch of people in the Soul Society to keep them because they noticed a bunch of Hollows were wiped out, so they had to bring balance, and he confronts Yamamoto about him. It's Yuvok, the Quincy King, and how he didn't kill him, and this is his fault because he didn't kill him 1,000 years ago. Then these messengers for Yuvok deliver that this is a message of war. Yes, and then Sasaki is killed by his own bomb. Yes, he's killed and we learn something later, and so eventually they go back, and the guy that was delivering the message, he kind of thinks he's tough shit, and Yuvok kills him, and you know he knows about Ichigo, who he is. So Ichigo gets locked in jail by Kirige as he's trying to go into get there because they get a message that Soul Society is being, oh yeah, they're invaded. The first invasion goes horrible for the Soul Society, and they find out a surprise. Yuvok has studied them, and he knows about certain threats. Ichigo, Kenpachi. He doesn't consider Yamamoto because he's old and he missing an arm. He thinks he's too weak, but he considers like Kisuke a threat. Yeah, Kenpachi, of course. Aizen. And we find out that he went and talked to Aizen, but Aizen rejected him because he doesn't have the same goals to destroy the Soul Society. He wants to change it. That's why. And he's also immortal, by the way. Aizen's immortal because of the way. And he doesn't have his Zanpakuto because it's now one. He's one with his Zanpakuto. I'll just say that. And he's in Mugen because of what happened to fake Kurokara Town and everything. Yeah, he likes being Mugen, and he's more and more stronger, and he's immortal. There you go. Can't kill the guy. So, yeah. So the first invasion happens. You have a lot of the Soul Society surprised, and so Ichigo gets a call as he's heading through, and then Kirige basically traps him, thinking that he's a Soul Reaper. Like I said, he doesn't know the truth, and then oh yeah, Kirige attacks Kisuke, and then all of a sudden we see someone has killed Kisuke. We know who it is from the comic. It's Grim Zhao. He's actually helping Kisuke, yes. And so Ichigo's trapped, he gets a call, and they're under attack, people are being killed, and and then Rukia tries to go help her brother, and she gets knocked out by Power, I think that's her name, because she says, how bad that you're running away. Like, she didn't like the fact that she's running away from her, but we have several, Quincy's. One is a robot, BG, who confronts Soyaphone. They're all facing certain one. Hitsugaya gets Kang, Do, Shinji, the big, is it Shinji? The big wolf. Yeah. He gets confronted by Bambiette. And then Byakuya is confronted by Asnot. And they each have a letter to their name. Bambiette's is B for bomb. Yeah, she can blow shit up with Reishi. Asnot uses fear, F for fear. And Basby is, I think it's F for fire or flame or something, I forget. Yeah. And Kate, we don't know what BG's is because we never get told it. Kangdu is iron because he can turn his skin to iron. A bunch of Quincy's, very powerful. We get Giselle, and hers is Z for zombie. Yep. And then we find out Uria joins them, and he gets A for antagonist, I think it's. He can basically switch all the injuries to himself to someone else. And of course, the Grandmaster has the balance. So if you have good fortune, it must be balanced out with bad fortune. We see that with giant skills, and he has no Quincy ability. So essentially, Hashwald is the Soul King's other half, which means when the Soul King, he's Yuvok's other half. So when Yuvok gets hold of the Almighty, he can, when he's asleep, Hashwald can use it. He can know everything. Yeah. So, in the first invasion, Yamamoto basically, after seeing what happened, Sasuke's baby meets the one who killed him. He, of course, goes, this is sad that you don't know how to use it properly, and he ends up killing him not with his Bankai, but his Shikai, which is Rin Jaku. He burns him to death. He goes, this is poor and sad to see such a beautiful Bankai be used by such trash. And, of course, then, they steal their Bankais. Yes, Byakuya gets his stolen and Asnot. Oh, yes, they think they're blocking them, but their device allows them to turns out steel, that's what Sasuke's Spade was trying to say before he died, is it doesn't block it, it steals, as Byakuya, Soyophone, Hitsugaya, and I forget his name, the big wolf guy, I think it's Senji. Yeah, he gets it, they get their Bankai stolen, and everybody's like, how stupid are you? And then, yeah, so they get their Bankai stolen, and they get defeated. And Kisuke almost, Byakuya almost gets killed by his, because that's not used against him. And then Renji, who gets taken out by Superstar, and basically Ichigo eventually breaks out of the prison, and everyone can sense him, and he's the biggest threat they need. This is Ichigo Kurosaki. Yeah, this is the Quincy King. This is Chad, this is Orihime, that's Udia, that's Rukia, that's Renji. I'm giving you okay. So then Ichigo goes, and basically Byakuya, before it looks like he's going to die, begs Ichigo to save everyone, which Ichigo will do. And, and of course, then we see, oh my god, oh yeah, and Shin, oh god, I'm forgetting, how do you pronounce his name? Son Shui, yeah, Son Shui, he's the captain who wears the flower komodo, the pink flower komodo, and he has two swords. He gets shot in the ear, in the eye. He loses an eye. So Robert confronts him, and Robert can move fast. Yeah. So each threat to the and so Yamamoto, after seeing, he loses control, and this was purpose. And he thinks he's facing Yuvok, and so he releases his Bankai, and man, is this the most messed up, broken Bankai, because it has four parts to it. It's north, south, east, and west. What is it? I forget how you pronounce it. He says the name, and each one has an ability. Like, one allows him to cloak himself in invisible flames. Another, all the tip of his power is in the tip of his sword. So when he hits down, he can erase everything from existence. He can resurrect anyone killed by his Zanpakuto. Yeah. And basically, the final stage, he can basically kill you. And so he faces what he thinks is Yuvok. And because he's so out of control, he isn't thinking straight. And he ends up thinking he's killed Yuvok. And then he finds out it's not Yuvok, it's Roy, or his brother, who impersonated it. And he had all the memories of Yuvok. And then Yuvok shows up and kills Yamamoto. Yes, and basically obliterates his body, leaving nothing after. And he says, why didn't you have the girl heal you? Because you didn't want to involve her. She's already involved. And basically, Ichigo confronts Yuvok. Yuvok calls him his son in the dark. Yes, because he realized Ichigo who he is when he has the blue blood, which is an ability Quincy's to protect themselves. All Quincy's have this until if Yuvok steals it from him. And basically, then it ends. Ichigo's Bankai is broken. So, and as Mayuri tells him, you can't fix a broken Bankai. Well, that's kind of sad. So, Ichigo, we have Renji, Rukia, and Byakuya are on death's door. And so the Zero Squad shows up. Ichibei and the Zero Squad. And they do their little thing, and basically they're here to bring Ichigo up to the palace, and Ichibei's got a reason for it. And to bring those three to heal their bodies, they got to remove all the poison, their poison blend, replace their broken reishi. So yeah. And then Kisuke comes in, and basically we know who's there. It's he tells them he's found a way to undo their stolen Bankais. Yeah, which he does. Which also makes things worse for when the second, And basically the Zero Squad does not get involved in the Soul Society because their job is to protect the Soul King. That's it. And they each have a palace up above. So essentially, Ichibei wants to turn Ichigo into the new Soul King. That is his whole plan. That comes up in the final arc, the fourth arc coming. So, yeah, the first season, basically, they get attacked again, and yeah, things go a little better. They're not completely fucked. They do get their Bankais back, and Kangdu and BG get killed by Hashwell, and Udia sees this, and he realizes, oh shit, that's messed up. So the second season ends, we get to the third, where, yeah. And the third is possibly the best, because then we get the battles, some of the big battles. We get Sun Shui Haraku takes on the commander of the elite, the guard of Yuvok's guard, who has the X-axis, which everything in between he can destroy. Yeah. And he carries what looks like a sniper rifle, but really his bow. And so yeah, and I forget his name. And he's basically like Gerard. He was not given an ability. He was born the way he is. He's basically the voice of the Soul King. Gerard is he's the heart of the Soul King. Pernajab, he's actually the Soul King's left arm. He's the one that looks like he's hooded, and you have, who's the other one? I think those are the ones that were not given abilities by Yuha. They were born the way they are. And then you have my favorite of all the Quincy's, Askin Naklavar. He's the death dealer, and he was chosen. And basically, well, in the third, yeah. I'm trying to remember, was the second season? I think the second season. Oh yeah, Ichigo goes up to the palace. He goes home in the first season. Now the second season ends with him going home and finding out from his father, because he's basically trying to, and no, that's the first season. The first season ends. He goes home after he, goes up and trains and everything. Renji and him. Renji actually finally learns his true Bankai, because during the Zanpakuto where they rebelled, Zomimaru told him, we never told you, we don't trust you. We don't respect you, actually. So here, Ichibei tells Renji, that's not your real Bankai. He finally learns his true Bankai, and we see him use it. And man, is it awesome. He uses it against Superstar, and he burns him, he destroys him. Yeah. But I think James, the little guy, he's actually the real. Because what Yuvok says is, goodbye, James. He's talking to the little guy, the big guy, Superstar, but actually his Volshin, his Quincy power. Yeah, because I think Superstar is actually James's Quincy ability, his Volshin disc and everything. Yeah, because when he says James, he's talking to the little guy that actually can cheer on Superstar, mask the Superstar. Yeah. And Rukia takes on Asnod. And this is the last battle of the whole. Yeah. This is at one point, this battle goes one episode, and it's actually amazing because Rukia finally learned Bankai. But the thing about Bankai is, because it's the first time, it's quite dangerous to her. She brings everything below zero. She freezes everything. And this is how she kills Asnod. And she has to stand perfectly still, or else she can die. And then after she does kill Asnod, basically Byakuya tells her to slowly release it, because otherwise it will kill her. So we see her Bankai, and it's beautiful. It also has a weakness. She's never used it, and she has to stand perfectly still. Unlike Hitsugai's, yeah, what we know of Bankai is much stronger than Rukia's. But we'll get to his true Bankai. That comes up in the fourth core. I'll get to that, but yeah. Now the third season actually is even cooler than this first and second season. The third season, we get some really beautiful Bankais. Sun Shui releases his, and it's a lover's play. Yes. And he takes on the voice of the Soul King. I keep forgetting the guy's name. And, oh yes, and the Zero Squad takes on the Royal Guards of Yuvok, while Yuvok takes on Ichibe. Oh yeah. And unlike in the manga where the Zero Squad is literally killed off screen in one, just killed off, here they actually make this, they actually change a lot of this. And this fight is amazing. They actually kick the they kick Asnot, Askin, they kill Askin, they kill Pernajak, they kill Hashwald, Udia, and they also kick Gerard. Yeah. And then we find out the whole thing with Zero Squad is that in order for one of them, the four, not Ichibe, the other four, to release their Bankai, the other three must sacrifice them. So we get a Bankai so beautiful, it's tapestry. Yeah, and this is one of the most beautiful, and it actually causes the three worlds to quake. That's how powerful these Zero Squad members are, and their Bankais, are that powerful. We see in the human world, when Ryukin and Ishin, Ichigo's father, who is Ishin Shiba, it's part of the Shiba clan. His mother, Ichigo's mother, is his mother is a pureblood Quincy, and she was the cousin of Ryukin, Ashida. They were supposed to get married before. What Ichigo finds out is that years ago, before he was born, his mother helped his father deal with White, which was a hollow that Aizen created by using dead soul reapers. Has a white mask, black body, and basically both these two are, Ishin is kind of lazy, but what Masaki Kurosaki does is she sacrifices. She allows White to bite her so that she can kill it. What this will do is lead to her death, and basically she starts to holofy, which will kill a Quincy. His hollows are lethal to Quincy's, as Kisuke tells him, and basically he tells Ishin, you have to give up your Soul Reaper abilities and bind your soul to hers to keep her alive. And he doesn't even hesitate. What this does is take White, which is Hollow White, and bind him to Ishin's Soul Reaper power, so Ichigo the whole time, before he finally finds out the truth, was using his Quincy powers, which he didn't know. He is actually a human, he's a Soul Reaper, he's a Quincy, he's a Hollow, and he's a Executioner. So he's all five races like the Soul King, which, and essentially, I go back a little bit, Ichigo, fights, Yuvok up there. He ends up being, unfortunately, responsible for killing the Soul King, and then Yuvok takes into the Soul King power, and Aizen saves everybody. Yes, he does. He comes back, they free him. Oh, yeah. Also, Kenpachi takes on Unohana, who is the first Kenpachi that we find out, and faces her, and she wakens up and breaks his thing where he likes to weaken himself because he didn't like to lose fighting over 1,000 years ago. He faced Unohana as a child when she was part of, she had a scar to prove it. And so she ends up sacrificing herself to give him the title of Kenpachi, and then suddenly he hears a voice, that's his Zanpakuto that he picked up as a kid. And its name is Nosarachi. And he will use that the first time against Gremmy. Yes, he faces Gremmy. I think that's in the second season, after Ichigo comes down. Oh yeah, Ichigo basically, he learns the truth, and he leaves the palace in the second core. He comes down and saves Kenpachi, and basically, he learns the truth that Yuvok killed his mother when she took her blue ball away, when he does what he'll do later to the Quincy's. He never gave a shit about them. And it causes Ichigo's mother. He always thought he was responsible, and then when he learns the truth, he goes back and gets two Zanpakutos, which are him embracing both his father and his mother, his Hollow and his Quincy and Hollow powers on his father's side, and it's hollow, and it's his Soul Reaper, which is the longer sword, and the shorter is his mother's Quincy powers. So and so he will have two swords. Yes. And he comes down, and basically the Quincy's have to kill him, but unfortunately they can't because he's way too strong. He saves Kenpachi because after Kenpachi faces Grammy, and he releases, he says this release, no Sriracha, he says no Sriracha between a big axe, and he uses it to cut a fucking meteorite in half, destroying it, saving everyone. Yeah. And Asuka sits back watching this going, oh god, we're all gonna die. Yeah, in the manga, he's actually having a lunch while he's watching this, and everyone's freaking out. But when Kenpachi, even Grammy realizes, he dies, basically. Because what happens is he can't figure out how to kill. He can't imagine killing Kenpachi, because Kenpachi makes him enjoy the battle so much that he basically runs out of, he dies, basically not able to kill Kenpachi, and then the Bambiettes show up and beat his ass. Oh yeah, and then Ichigo Shen saves Kenpachi. Yep. And then he basically takes on the Bambiettes and shows off his new what he can do with his two swords. And then eventually we get where he ends up going up to, because they go up to the house, Ichigo has to go back up there, and so he needs help and, getting back up to the palace. So they go to, I think it's his cousin, who she knows that she's Ichigo's cousin. Yeah. And basically they get shot back up to the palace, and they confront Yuvok, Ichigo and his friends, and unfortunately, because Yuvok wants to kill his father to get revenge for what happened, for him getting rid of the Precipice World, which was made Quincy's immortal, Ichigo's Quincy powers, Yuvok can control, makes him kill the Soul King, cut him in half, and then we find out that Ukitake has Migi Hagi, which is the Soul King's right arm inside of him, and he tries to save the Soul King, but then that doesn't work. Oh, and Aizen's been freed, and everyone's not happy with that. But he explains why he killed Tozen, because he was in pain. There was no way to stop his suffering, which you kind of understand. And essentially, the spilling of what overpowered Soul King's power falls down and starts attacking everybody. So Aizen, stuck to this chair, uses his power to basically get rid of a lot of that overwhelming. Yeah. And this is why he was a threat to Yuvok, because of how powerful he is. And remind you, Aizen's immortal. Yes. So he's still stuck in that chair. So then we get to the third part, where we get Mayuri taking on Prenderjack. He's the Soul King's left arm. We get Sunshui taking on the voice of the Soul King. He's the, I'm forgetting his name. He actually has the Axis, and he actually has two forms, holy form and everything. Those are the really two big Bankais. Mayuri actually manipulates his sword, so even if it breaks, it can't be destroyed. He explained that early in the first season. But here, he actually basically found a way to create a big mummy of his when he releases the new bomb, and he allows him to create a baby version, a new one of his Bankais that can now basically take on what the compulsory, which is basically will fucking destroy a body part, your nerves. Yes. Oh, Kenpachi rips his arm off after he tears his arm apart. He rips it off, and yeah, he basically falls down and has to be protected by Mayuri. And during this fight, Mayuri's daughter, who he finally recognizes as his daughter because he's telling, hey, I'm having a conversation with my daughter. She sacrificed herself to help save her father, and he recovers her brain. Yes. Of course, he saves Kenpachi. They thank him. Yep. And, oh yeah, he rescued Hitsugaya. because he's guy was a man, was one of Giselle's zombies along with the other two, and he saved them and returned them back human. Rose and oh fuck, I forget his name. He has a 69 on his chest. Yeah, I forget his name. They were both killed by Superstar. Yeah. And Rose is so dumb, he tells him his ability is sound. So basically Superstar pierces his eardrums and basically takes him out with his star. Like I said, Renji kills him. And then later in the third season we get a new fight. We get Udia versus Renji. Yeah, so everybody's running to get to, they're being, and that fight's awesome. And Renji loses, of course, but he doesn't quite lose. Yeah, and we set up what's coming in the fourth quarter. Yeah, and so things end where everything's getting set for the final fight. And we get the visors all come together where this is how the third season ends. They're all wearing their masks, standing up to Gerard. Kenpachi's being healed right now, and I don't know where Mayari is right now, but we have Askin is taken on Yorichi Shinoho, and she's quick. She uses Thunder God mode on him. That's how, And her brother comes in to help her, and he gets taken down. Yep. By Askin. I love Askin. And then we have, of course, Hashfall shows up using the Almighty, and Udio reveals that he was never betrayed, and he wants to destroy the Almighty, that because Hashfall's using it, if he kills Hashfall, he'll destroy it. This is at the, and he basically tells Ichigo, go after Yuvok. And that's, so what we're setting up is we have these fights that are coming. So that's the third season ended. And what we get is we have Orihime, Ichigo, Chad, and Udia. And basically Udia has his bow out and he's confronting Hashfall. Yes. Now, the Forest Core is coming July the 25th, is when it airs on Hulu. But here they decided to put in theaters the 1,000-Year Blood War. The Calamity, that's what this fourth season is called. What the Calamity is the first 3 episodes. There is no opening song or close song. You do hear the songs at the end of the credits. If you see this in theaters, there's at the end of the whole thing that they sit down with Kuba and the 2 directors, and they talk about what they did, what went into the process of making this, and how the changes. Like the opening to this starts with Yuvok having what looks like he's being killed by Ichigo, and it turns out that's a dream. Weird thing is Yuvok says best dreams are nightmares. So he has a nightmare, Ichigo kills him, he wakes up, and then they do this anime only where we get a scope around, which kind of reminds you of the previous seasons, 1 through 3, and we see where the battles are. We get the visors and Gerard, then we get Yorichi, Askin, then you see the palace where Yuvok is, then they go down and there's Hashfall, we see where it begins and Udia tells Ichigo to go ahead. He will kill the Almighty. Because the Hashfall using it means that the soul, that Yuvok is asleep. That's what we know from so far. So he's going to take on Hashfall. Ichigo and Chad and Orihime are heading to the palace, and they're getting there, and then all of a sudden they're attacked by statues, and they get separated. Chad gets separated from them. He tells them to go on. Then Ganju shows up, and this is Ichigo's cousin, by the way. And we leave them to go follow Ori, and Ichigo has Ori, and she actually is a bigger role in this. And even Yuvok takes her down with, And so the fights are really good. They go between, they jump between fights, but mainly we start out with Ichigo taking on Yuvok. He's got the Almighty covering his head. And then we go back to Hashball, he's still using Almighty. And then he releases his version, and you and Kuba created this just for the anime. It's a version, since he has he has no ability to use Reishi, he essentially, this is a version of like the Balshin dish that Quincy's with that can use Reishi, because as he reveals, his purpose is he's the other half of Yuvok, which means he's actually Yuvok's other half that makes him whole. So he covers himself in black and is able to use the Almighty along with Yuvok. Yeah, Yuvok is fully awake, by the way. And as the fight goes on, he also reveals to Ichigo the truth about Ichibei. The Ichibei, that Ichigo is all the races. He's a human, because humans are soul reapers. Quincy, he's a human, he's a soul reaper, he's a Quincy, he's a hollow, he's an executioner. All 5 races, like the Soul King. And Ichibei wants to turn him into the new Soul King. Ichigo goes, I don't care. And this, we are watching. Well, we don't realize Udius actually said, and he goes through it like, oh, if you kill me, then the worlds will disappear. And he goes, I don't care, I'm going to kill you. And what we find out is Udia knows his cousin so well, and I know he knows Ichigo's his cousin, that when he says this to Ashball, he goes, yeah, that's exactly what Ichigo would say. We're both going to kill Yuvok. So yeah, their plan is to kill Yuvok because of what he's done. He killed their mothers. And so, yeah. Category was Udia's mother, and Ichigo's mother's dead because, and he calls him his son. Ichigo goes, I'm not your son. And he goes, you mean Ishin? He's your standing father. Your mother will. And this is the slimy thing about Yuvok. He says to Ichigo, your mother wanted to die for me. No, she didn't. You stole her power and she got murdered. You are a piece of shit. Yeah, and then we go to the Visors. Oh yeah, then we get to Yorichi and Askin, and she uses God Thunder, which I think she used previously, but and then she gets, as she uses it, she gets punched, knocked down, and she notices her brother's injured. She needs to stop asking so she can save her brother, and then Kisuke goes, shows up, and he's patting her butt, and he goes, you got a wedgie. And she goes, stop looking at my butt. And he goes, and of course, Askin sees, goes, oh, you're Kisuke or hard. You're the pain in the ass. Yeah. And what's funny about this is they're running, she goes, what did you do to me? He goes, I gave you an antidote for the poison. Oh, it turns out Askin's poison allows him to, the longer you use your ability in his poison, it actually makes him immune. I'm just giving that's something he says. So eventually, Kisuke hides. He doesn't want to get injured right now. He's not ready to fight. And he does it. No wonder Yorichi hates this. He holds up a thing and he says, once I flip this, and she knows what's about to happen, and she hates him for it. Because what it's going to do is turn her into a lightning cat. Oh yeah, making her fast and everything. When I say she becomes a cat, every way she acts like a cat. Not a joke. She literally will come in when he says, Yorichi, you want the catnip? And she comes down and then she licks herself and purrs like a cat in every way. And then Askin releases his gift ball. And Kisuke goes, what the hell is that? And Kisuke's eyes get taken. He goes, that's my gift ball. And he released the full power of it. It's huge. And it's purple because Askin loves purple. And then he takes Kisuke's eyes, and Kisuke can't see. And he's like, then Kisuke realizes what he needs to do. So they can't, and this was great. They pan the camera down to his hand, he makes a fist, and then they fade back, and he says, Bonkai. Then he says Benehime's full name, and here's the thing, suddenly black drapes fall. And Askin goes, what? And you sort of see in the shadow something moving, and he goes, what is that? And then you see, and I'm just describing it. You have to, if you see this, it's way better than I'm describing it. You see these hands, and it's all from Benehime's point of view. You see their hands, and their puppet hands, and they're moving, dragging her through the curtains. And then you see her like, oh. It makes it very creepy the way they did in the anime compared to the manga. This is much more creepy. And then, this fight, they stick with this fight all the way through. And after the episodes, these 3 episodes over, they bring up that the way they directed this was they wanted to make it look like Kisuke was writing the stitches, like he's on, and Kuba actually says that's exactly how I drew it. And it's like, yeah, and they bring up some animation techniques that they from the manga that they want, like when Orihime grabs Ichigo and says his name and he turns. They did that exactly the way it is. Askins, look on his face and everything, his whole look. Yep, everything was, yeah. And so the Kisuke, and it goes exactly the way if you've read the manga. I'm not going to spoil the end of it, but then we go back to the Ichigo and these fights are amazing. And the way they give you a taste, so if you see this in theater, you're going to find that is the Kisuke asking fight is so worth seeing on the big screen. I'm glad I saw it twice. I might go see it Monday if I get my money in my account. I might go see it Monday again because that's the last night in the U.S. and then it leaves till July the 25th when it'll be on Hulu. That's a Saturday. It'll air weekly. And the 2 endings, the opening and end song that Kuba picked, the artist who he picked for the opening, he said it's most likely to be the opening, is the guy who did the close in the 3rd season, the Calling Game Part 1. Yeah. And he played, those songs get played at the end during the credits, before they have the 3 sit down and talk about what they did and everything. And Kuba's a very easygoing guy. I mean, the fact that his health is doing better and he wants to get back to doing the Hell arc, once the guy who created the Sakamuro Days finishes the manga, I think they're going to work together on it. It might be serialized weekly. It might come out monthly. We don't know. But he says he's so ready to do the Hell arc again, which is great. But this sets up what's coming, and I was very impressed. Now, yeah, I was like, yeah, the visors, they do get to do some stuff, but of course they do get taken out by Gerard because he's literally the heart. He is the heart of the Soul King. So when you injure him or cut his eye, he grows bigger. And they figured this out. And yeah. And what is it? Hitsugai and Byakuya, when they see Kenpachi showing up, they go, great, trouble's here. And this is the first time they realize he can actually do Shikai. We're not going to see the Bankai until the episode airs. And they've promised some new Bankais, but we don't, not one Visor right now did a Bankai. They did do a Zero, their entire, they all had a Zero. They shot them at Gerard, and they each had different colors. I don't know who had the purple one, but yeah. And so this sets up what's coming, and this final chorus is going to be, if this is what we're getting, I can't wait how it ends. And he said a character, like he mentioned, there's a character that's not in the regular manga. I'm hoping, and I'll say this, I hope it's Tokunawa, because then it plays into Tozen. Because Tozen's best friend that he took her to Zanpakuto was Tokunawa's wife. And what happened there, you find in Can't Fear Your World, is that Tokunawa's wife thought she could tell him what to do, so he killed her. But because he's of one of the noble families, they didn't punish him, and this what pissed Tozen off. She was killed for no reason, and that's why he rebelled against the Soul Society. And he felt that they let her die and not making Tokunawa pay. Yeah. So, but yeah, this final arc, and I'm not going to give the rest away. This will be, if you see it in theater, it's so worth it. I mean, I was loving this from the beginning to the end. And it's like 2.5, it's an hour and a half, so it's 3, and they do put the chapters in there, they do put, like they do on the anime, for each episode, they'll tell you, where it comes from, and they did that throughout this, and it flows so fluidly from one battle to the next. They sometimes jump between Ichigo's battle and Udia's, and it's because you have they're facing the same thing and trying to defeat it. Then you have your Ricci and Kisuke taking on Askin and Naklovar. Then you have the Visors and taking on Gerard Valkyrie. And it's like, yeah. And So it's like, it's fun to watch this. I saw it in Japanese. I've seen the English, it's okay, but I really have to watch it in Japanese because I just can't. When it's Japanese, it takes place in Japan. It kind of bugs me to see it with the English voice actors, even though the voice actors who do Bleach are good. It's also the way that they change words, like from Captain Commander to Head Captain. And I just thought the Japanese actors I should focus on them. Like I said, if it's not inside Japan, I'll watch it dubbed if the dubbing is good, like Cowboy Bebop. And there's others, but in Japan, I prefer the Japanese actors because, they deserve it. So yeah, this is Gilgamesh. I absolutely recommend this. That was the whole Bleach. Watch it all the way through. Get the manga, read it, or watch this. It's on Hulu. The whole Bleach thing's on Hulu because Disney bought the rights to stream the 1,000-Year Blood War. So yeah, that's why it's on Disney and Hulu. So it's on Disney Plus or Hulu, but it's so worth it to see this. I loved it, I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the final part of this. And I don't know how many episodes are in it, but I can't wait to see where they're going to go with this, because the way they ended it is so perfect for it to end that when you get to what's coming, it'll make you excited to watch this final core. The Calamity, when it starts to air July the 25th. That's over, July's almost here, so we're close to that date's going to get closer and closer. So, yeah, this is Gilgamesh. I will talk to you later. Bye.